Hello and welcome everyone to F1 2025 for the first look then with myself F1ology, and today we are going to be just looking around at F1 25, seeing what it's all about and hopefully discovering what this new game is saying. So first of all, let's have a look at customization. Why not? In fact, I do need to create my driver. I think we'll go for this character this year. Definitely not that character. Or that one. Nope. Nope. Looks a bit like Carlos Sainz, that does. Let's go for this bloke. Yeah, go for that chap. I think. Ooh, Fernando Alonso. Just a fake version. Anyway, country. Let's use our country. Using the UK, or should I use the Irish flag as per usual? No, Irish. Use the Irish flag. Let's get our car number. Car 71. Or 72. Go for 72. Why not? Right. Helmet. There is a lot more customization in the game this year. So we do have the new flags. You got new helmet. Sorry, you got the Apex GP helmet, nice and cool. You got the Lewis Hamilton helmets, and I actually like that. All the Lewis Hamilton helmets available already. You don't have to wait around for that. I'm gonna use Lewis's 2019 helmet. Why not? Or should I use his 2014 one? Not really sure which one looks better. Think I'll go for the 2019 color scheme. But yeah, you got some nice little content in the game already to start with in terms of customization. And this already, by the way, looking so much better. I'm not sure if there's any other items you can buy using Bitcoin. Yeah, you can. Let's have a quick look at other helmets maybe out there that you could buy potentially to launch off with. So you got this looking pretty good actually. Got some nice helmets actually, to be fair, already. But again, you do have to use Bitcoin for that. For those items, which ain't too bad actually. But already the basic, like, how can I put it, customization to begin with seems so much better this year without including the Bitcoin, because I remember last season or last year game was a lot worse off in that regard. So yeah. Anyway, what team radio? Ooh, got the Vettel team radio there, but I think I'm gonna use this one, or should I use this one? Actually, we'll go for the lump in my throat one. Podium celebration. Quite like that one, really. And character pose. Is there any others that we can go for? Nope, nope. No, no. That one I do like, but yeah, waste a bit of Bitcoin on that then. So there we go. So we're gonna go for then that. And there we go. So let's equip our driver, obviously. And that's going to be our driver for then today. So we're going to, first of all, I think, take a look at some of the LDR tracks. Because there's quite a few LDR tracks, I believe, in the game this year. So let's go backwards. We're not going to go through all of them, but we're going to look at some of them. So I think we'll start off with, obviously... I think Abu Dhabi. See what Abu Dhabi is saying this season. Why not? And then we'll go, obviously, a little bit backwards. And I'm going to probably do a career mode as well. So here we are then, in the car for the first time. Got no one who's actually done a lap time yet. But yeah, we're not going to necessarily be looking at, what you call it. So, here we go then. First lap in the McLaren. have already tried to play around a little bit with the saturation. Just gonna turn down the effect volume a little bit because it's probably a little too loud for my liking. There we go. It's a little bit better. Otherwise, it's pretty deafening. So, anyway. So Abu Dhabi, this is the first track we're just running for now to see what it's saying ultimately. Car turned pretty nicely, a little bit of oversteer, lots of oversteer. Traction issue on the exit. I don't run any assists, by the way, so obviously, yeah, didn't really play F124 a lot, but so far I will say this does feel a little bit nicer already to sort of like begin with, if that makes sense. Feels a little bit more easier to drive, which is good. My only criticism would be the slow speed corners feel a lot slower. We'll do one more lap here. We're going to save the setup anyway, just so we have a few setups in our arsenal. But yeah, the slow speed corners, that's what I mean. I feel like I can't quite get the car turned in those corners at the moment. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there or why. Just feels really horrible to drive in a corner like that, the car does. So, certainly an area that I'm trying to understand. But in the like faster stuff, like from this section onwards, as you'll see, like in my opinion, the car working very well. Or at least to me it feels it's working well. I feel like I'm confident with how the car's handling through sort of like this part of the racetrack, as you can see. I'm not having any dramatic moments. So we'll do one more lap. It's just corners a little bit like that where I'm struggling a little bit at the moment. Through there, very nice that time. See, that was a lot better. Maybe it's just about slowing the car down initially on that first part of the corner, if that makes sense, in this year's game. I do think that the cars could be a little bit too slow in this year's game, ultimately. And that's my one worry. Because when I look at the lap times, 23... I think fastest lap is a 23 something at the moment around here, which is okay, don't get me wrong, but yeah, you can see we are gaining a lot of lap time anyway. It is day one though, so that's kind of to be expected. I will try it for the first few days. Have regular uploads, but yeah, first few laps and around not Bahrain, around there. It's 20. Did set it that time? Yeah, we did. We've done a 25.7. We're about 2 seconds off the best at the moment, which ultimately I think is pretty okay. It's considering it's day one. I'm not necessarily seeking ultimate car performance. So, yeah, that was Abu Dhabi. Looking pretty much as good as last year. if not a little bit worse than last year. If there's any questions, by the way, please drop a comment. If you're obviously new to the channel, please subscribe. And I will try to put out some regular F1 25 content. Now, we'll just do a lap at Qatar. We're just going to try and do a lap at least one circuit. I'm not necessarily going to always seek to do what you call it a lap time, but I'm going to just show you every sort of circuit, hopefully, in today's first look at the game, just so you can see, hear what the cars are like, and also see what everything is saying. So, yeah, 121, certainly slower than last year already. I believe last year, drivers on the game, at least, or players on the game, be doing already probably a 1 minute 20 into the 120s. Maybe even going as quick as a 119s around here. Certainly on last year's game. Already it's only a 121, so it certainly is slower. By the looks of it, the game is. Anyway, just going to do a basic lap around here just to see if anything's changed. I don't think much will have changed from Qatar. So, maybe a little bit more realistic with the crowd and the seating on the outside of the circuit. Not really sure about that though. So, nonetheless, again, not much I'm seeing has changed here. Maybe these corners are a bit further apart, I could say. Certainly this feels a little bit more banked and more open there, I would say, compared to last year. Again, maybe a little bit more elevation. Could be a bit wrong though in saying that, but maybe a little bit more elevated. Again, a bit more elevation notice here, but other than that, I'd say pretty similar compared to last year. What would have been our lap time anyway? Let's see. Obviously, it wouldn't have been the greatest because I was taking it fairly easy on that lap, but still come across the line with a 126.4. So, yeah, nothing really has changed at Qatar. Now we're going to go for the Ferrari in this next run with the Ferrari at Las Vegas. Let's see what has changed at Las Vegas. Now, knowing the beta, there was a few issues at Las Vegas. Some of the signings was completely dark or something. Let's see, obviously, if that's been fixed. I hope it has, because it wouldn't be a good launch if they've not fixed something like that. And again, looking at the lap times, looks pretty like, well, looking a lot like the lap times are a little bit slower. So, yeah, let's have a look then. What is Las Vegas saying compared to last season or last year on the game? So, over the crest, nothing really too much has changed through here. So, looks almost identical. That's what I mean by the understeer. Such an understeery car now compared to last year. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. That curb feels a little bit longer, definitely. Certainly the tarmac on the inside weren't like that last year in F1 25. Still, car does seem to ride bumps in the track better. Don't seem to have such a prominent effect, which I suppose is good. But other than that, it looks just like Las Vegas of last year. No real major updates I'm seeing. Maybe visually, lighting wise, it looks cleaner, looks better. A bit more detail going on maybe. Potentially there. But other than that, I am not seeing, how can I put it, too much change in terms of a lap. It looks practically identical. Again, we'll obviously save that car setup then for ourselves. Hopefully when we come back here, that might be a good setup for next, for any of our seasons, if we do any league racing this season, or even in career mode, obviously. So yeah, Las Vegas practically identical compared to before. We'll hop in now with Red Bull, and we'll see what Brazil is saying to us then on this year's game. Again, visually from just that camera there, it's looking very similar compared to previous years gone by. Again, that's what I'm seeing. Whether or not it is or isn't, we're going to find out. Probably not going to grab us up. I just want to go for it just to see if I'm right in assuming. Probably don't even need to do the final 2 corners. So, curb feels a little bit flatter there. Only easier to drive. Again, maybe a little bit flatter the curb is. So baseline setup, I will say, does feel pretty nice in this year's game. That's one thing I will give it a lot of credit for. Baseline setup does feel pretty good, but yeah, no real changes here. Is maybe that curb on the right there weren't there before. I could be wrong in that though, but other than that, yeah, no changes. Ooh, a bit of a change. Nice, nice, nice. So there you go. Found one change here. The grass on the inside. So I can't remember what was there before, if there was anything there before, but that, whether it was just a bit of tarmac or whatnot, but that's certainly going to affect how you approach this corner with this little bit of grass here. Not again sure if there was grass there before, but certainly weren't blue. I know that. There you go. So blue grass on the inside of that corner, which does again just affect how you approach the corner. Other than that, beyond that one element, it is practically identical to before. So yeah, definitely the blue grass. Then let's go to then Mexico. See if anything's obviously been updated there. Once I've gone through all the tracks, as I say, I will go do one career mode race, I think, or should I do a breaking point? I'm not sure. I think I'll do a career mode race, just to see. So yeah, this at least is giving you good experience or good knowledge of what might be new to come. So Lewis Hamilton back in, well, with that Lewis Hamilton setup or helmet. Anyway, in Mexico then. And again, I'm not getting the feeling much has changed here just by the initial looks. Obviously, those with a finer eye might spot something, but so far I cannot spot much that would indicate to me there's been a massive change. Of course, the signage or the sponsor signage, yes, has been updated, but you'd sort of expect that come any game anyway. But yeah, nothing has changed, has it? We'll go through Sector 2. I don't think we're going to find much. Still looking identical. And sure enough, you bet it is. So nothing's therefore changed at, obviously, Mexico. Now, I'm not sure if this could be one of the first laser scan tracks. I could be wrong. But if it is, then hopefully it is on this year's game. Let's see. Anyway, let's see what Texas has got to say. Again, though, not looking very different compared to last year's version. So let's first see as we go up the hill into turn 1. certainly that on the left painting a little bit different, but again, these are minute changes. I wouldn't really say affects you too much. Maybe that corner a little bit longer maybe in terms of the feel, but nothing really has changed at Texas. So on to Singapore. Then let's see if anything's changed at Singapore. So Texas the same, practically half the tracks so far, very much identical to one another. I know there are a few updated LDR tracks in the game. Not really sure which ones they've said they are. I think it's definitely Melbourne's one of them. I've driven Melbourne. Let's see if there's any remote differences to then Singapore. Singapore, actually, to be fair, I think was one of the better tracks they've always had in the game. So, yeah. In terms of how the car feels, ultimately, as I say, when I'm pushing the car, it feels a little bit nicer to drive in certain aspects. When I'm not so much pushing the car, it's actually really nice to drive on like cool down laps. Feels very calm. The only thing I've noticed is in certain corners it feels a bit too understeery for my liking. And a bit slower, but that's alright though. I mean, some of that can be dialed out with just a good setup. Ultimately. Probably a lot of it can be dialed out with a good setup and just maybe trying to fine-tune your approach to how you approach a lap. Just like here, that's what I mean by understeer. Doesn't feel that great in terms of the initial turn-in. But yeah, nothing's really changed at Singapore, as you can see. Practically the exact same circuit we've had in years gone by. Let's see if anything's changed at then Azerbaijan. Then for this year. Last year's game, I can't really remember driving Azerbaijan a lot. But yeah, we'll see. To be fair, I'm not a big fan of Azerbaijan in Formula 1 games. Besides F1 2016. So only from F1 2016 maybe, I'm actually quite a fan of it. Besides from that, I've never really found my liking at this track. Whether that changes in 2025, who knows? Anyway, we'll give some of the other cars a go in a sec, but yeah, nothing so far noticeable's changed. Visually again, the game looks great. I did brush the barriers. Ooh.
Okay, well done. Okay.
Right. Anyway, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to kind of just show you. As I kind of brushed the barriers, I'm pretty sure this curb here on the left, that's why I kind of turned in a little bit early. Because I thought that was the turning in point. Clearly wasn't. Hence we brushed the barriers ever so slightly. Maybe you could go later. Anyway, this curb on the right here definitely wasn't there in last year's game. So that's certainly nice to see. I'm not sure if it's there in real life or whatever, but it certainly is a slight improvement to the track, I suppose. Other than that, so far, yeah, again, very much like previous circuits, nothing much has changed. And this is what I mean by understeer. You're going to have to get your braking points correct in this year's game, I feel, because I feel like the braking points are definitely a lot further back than what it used to be in 24, and that's my only concern so far for F1 25, is how the cars feel a bit slower and a bit more sluggish. It don't feel like you've got quite the same amount of like downforce or whatever it is, like braking power in the car. It feels like you're going a little bit slower in this year's game, ultimately. which, again, isn't necessarily a bad thing, ultimately. It is just what it is. I mean, everyone's going to have to adapt to it. I mean, if they were to make a handling update, EA, I think that's the only update I think I'd give them. Now, I'm not sure if this bridge was here before. Certainly, I don't remember it too well on F1 2024. So, that certainly could be a track change. Other than that, let's, well, try and do a decent lap here at Monza. Certainly, as I would say as well, whilst, you know, I criticise the braking being a bit worse this year's game, I will say I think the car handles better when it comes to curb usage, so you certainly use a little bit more curbs, be a bit braver in that aspect. So 21-1, I mean, not bad I don't think, because what are we, like, just over 2 seconds off the best pace, which I don't think's too dreadful, in my opinion. Obviously, yeah, obviously it's not great, like, but I'm not really, how can I put it, pushing at the moment too heavily, as you can probably almost tell. I'm just sort of like seeing what's changed, what hasn't. Right, let's do the first reverse track then here. That's, I think, one thing I do want to see. What is this reverse layout going to be like? Now, when I sort of tried these in 24, I didn't think they're that great, and I don't think they are going to be that great for racing on. I don't really see where people can get the, let's say, the lap time, or, sorry, not the lap time, but get the overtake done. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult and challenging to overtake, but yeah, let's see. Obviously, it's cool that you've got all the braking points in reverse. I think that's pretty good. So, let's see what it is saying then. So, into the final corner. Wow, that was a lot of grip. Weren't expecting that much grip. Gonna go for that again. I weren't expecting that and much initial turning. Felt like that was a lot of grip there. Yeah, that kind of blew my mind, how much grip I sort of had. Anyhow, so turn 1, this is then. Again, kind of catching me out almost a little bit there, too much. In terms of the track itself, we're practically going to see it anyway, forward and reverse. Not going to show you it twice, but you can already see like what it's like. Again, I'm not really seeing where you get the moves done. Maybe here is going to be your best overtaking opportunity on the lap. But once you get to this part, it isn't going to be many areas, I don't think, to overtake, really. Because it's going to be so, how can I put it, fast. Maybe you could have a look on the exit, of course, here. But, yeah, first lap around Netherlands backwards, around Zandvoort backwards. It's okay. I'm not going to be a huge fan of that. But, yeah, I'm not going to show Belgium or Hungary because I've already seen them already myself. I know you guys probably haven't, but yeah, why not? I'm not going to try and do every single circuit. Let's just see what Great Britain is saying in reverse. Obviously, it is quite cool that they do have the reverse tracks in the game. But is it a ground-breaking element to the game? I'm not really sure. I mean, it's cool. It adds a little bit of different challenge for, I suppose, if you're a league racer, you're going to have to learn a different approach or different sort of like racing lines, I suppose, for these corners, which you're probably very much used to going forward in real life. But I'm not necessarily sure I'm too keen on them. But as I say, it adds a new element, keeps the game a little bit more fresh. In terms of the handling, as I'm going to say, I think it is better than last year, definitely, but just a little bit better. It's something, how can I put it, even myself, I'm a little bit more content to play with and try to get used to. In terms of the closest, I think, handling-wise, I'd say it's close to F1 2019, actually. That's sort of a feeling I'm initially getting from this game, is a 2019 vibe, you know? I know that might sound a bit weird, but that's sort of like the feeling I get. F1 2019 sort of feel. And then, and actually, even with the tyre sort of shine, I'm sort of getting that sort of vibe. With the tyre shine, with the car handling characteristics. Not necessarily with the visualizations, I think the visuals are a lot better than 2019, but yeah. Nothing really changed at Silverstone, I don't think. It feels like it's the same track. How about Austria, though? So here's Austria. I mean, reverse actually don't feel too bad in this game. Maybe it was where I was playing it in F1 24, it felt a little bit worse for whatever reason. But so far, it's not really feeling that actual too bad. It's feeling somewhat actually okay to drive. Again, could be also because the braking markers are now there. So I've got more of a reference, which certainly helps. God forbid anyone making a move here in a league race or whatever. So across the line, and it's a 7-3. I mean, again, no setup on that. How many seconds were off? About 3 seconds were off, but again, no setup whatsoever there. So probably with a setup, I'd probably find easily a second then. Right, on to Canada. Now, Canada last year's game, I thought was a bit iffy. I didn't particularly like it. I didn't particularly hate it. Let's see if it's any better in 25 then. Like, this could be a better track. I hope it's better. The final corners I thought were horrendous last year. Not sure whether they're going to be exactly the same. Again, if they've made some improvement, they look a little bit better maybe. anyway, we'll go through the whole lap, see what it's saying. The turn 1 looking a little bit nicer. 2 certainly looking nicer. That's what I mean by the understeer. So much understeer in this year's car. I will change cars. I'll probably go in the RB next. Just to give a bit of a different car perspective. Yeah, overall, not really sure with this one, with Canada. Still not a big fan of it. It's okay. Does the trick. But it's still a bit not my cup of tea. Canada isn't, at least. So we'll move on now to Spain. We'll go in the Aston Martin, actually. Let's see what Spain is saying this year. Now, Spain had that bump at the final corner or something, or one of the corners, or 2 of the corners, in fact. Obviously, I hope it's not there this year, because that wouldn't be funny. But let's see what it is saying. So they've got the new bridge in there. That's quite nice, actually, because that bridge was there. They've got the curbs certainly there, which they didn't have last year. So looking a little bit more as it should do in real life. Let's see what it's saying. Also, I'm going to see what I can do here in this lap. So, besides from really the visual details of the what you call it, the bridge there, and besides from just a few visual details, I'd say it's practically the same circuit. It does obviously not feel as bumpy. Let's see what the lap time would have been. I don't really care if it's a bit off the pace, but yeah, it's a 14.7. Where would that have put myself? So it would have put myself about 3 seconds off the outright best at the moment, which compared to one other person who I've got on my friends list, it would have put me about almost a second off themselves. So yeah, I'm not really going to show you Monaco CBA with that. We'll go for Imola then. So yeah, we'll go for Imola, see what Imola is saying, and then we'll go just for, I think it's after here, Bahrain, or wherever it is after here. There isn't much changed at Jeddah or China, I can tell you that now. So yeah, this is the other one I want to go for. Obviously here is Imola. So there have been a few changes here to Imola. I'll show you what they are. So most of the changes are here. So yeah, I think the gravel on the right certainly is a little bit closer to the track in terms of, I'm not sure if that's correct or not, but certainly the inside curbs here are, as you can see, as they are per real life. So that's certainly the big change. Also in the final setup, I think this is a little bit more cuttable now compared to what it was last year. That definitely isn't, as we brush the barrier. But yeah, certainly the big change is really here in Sector 1, I would say, where the curbs are a lot flatter than they are before. You can just ride them a bit more, and yeah, which is always going to be a bit more enjoyable. Have done a lap around here, don't think it was very good, necessarily. That's my opinion, but yeah. Ultimately, I don't really know too much about Imola. It feels nicer, which is great. Certainly you're going to be able to push a little bit more, I think. But this corner is going to be still probably the worst corner. Certainly you haven't got much of a runoff, so you do go off, you're certainly in the gravel, so you can't be doing that this season in the game, going wide like that. Miami actually, I think, is the next one I will show you guys. And I think they have done a really nice job with Miami. Now, I'm not sure if Miami is laser scanned. I could be right, could be wrong. If it is laser scanned, fair enough, because they've done a really amazing job with Miami this season, or this year, in this year's game. And I'll give them credit for where credit is obviously to be given. In terms of lap time seems about right around Miami, for the top guys at least. But, yeah, you know, in terms of, like, what I'm thinking about Miami, so that seems obviously all great to me. Here is a big change. So this corner, certainly, I think you can probably, well, you can probably still cut it about the same amount, but as you can see, they've got that grey inner curb section, which is absolutely spot on. So that's just a nice little detail. I think that bridge has been added in, could be wrong. In terms of first corner, looking almost identical to as it was before, so nothing really changed there. That curb on the right feels a little bit bigger. But here's where the big change probably comes, is here. So this is all flat curbing now. So that just means you can use a little bit more track if you want to. And yeah, that's going to feel a lot nicer to drive, ultimately, I think. So yeah, that is going to be certainly something nicer a little bit to drive in this year's game. And then it feels like the straight is a little bit more elevation to it, as it probably should be in real life. So more closer to the real life version of the track, which I'm very grateful for to see. That wall there, I think, is going to catch a few people out. But it's here again, the other big change. It doesn't feel as Mickey Mouse. It feels still a very Mickey Mouse section to drive, but as you can see, the curbing is totally different. And it feels a little bit more open and wide. I could be wrong in saying that, but it just feels a little bit more open and wide in my view. So yeah, some really nice changes, I think, to the Miami Autodromo. Looking absolutely awesome, actually, the Miami Grand Prix track this year. So those are probably the bigger changes to this year's game, ultimately speaking. Right, next, Saudi Arabia. I didn't say I'm going to show you Saudi Arabia. Nothing's changed there. Maybe a few sponsor decals. Probably the next one I want to show you is Bahrain. Now, Bahrain, I'm a bit confused by. I'm not sure if it's laser scanned again, or if it's, you know, what is going on at Bahrain. I'm really, really confused, because how can I put it to you? The curbing just feels, I don't want to say wrong, but it feels a little bit wrong in certain places. So where it feels wrong is here. Here, it's just a flat curb, completely flat. No curb whatsoever. There, completely flat, no curb whatsoever. Here, feels okay, feels normal. I feel it would be like that in real life. I don't think it would be anything other than that. Ultimately, yeah, just feels then there. Feels again completely flat curbing. Same for here, same for there. Just feels really, really flat, the curbs. Also, the white line feels very squiggly. So that's the things I'm really noticing at Bahrain. Is just how the car feels, or not how the car feels, but how flat these curbs are. They're extremely flat. Even the higher curbs, as you can see there, just feel extremely flat compared to last year's game. It just doesn't feel like there's as much curb there. This felt like, to me, in last year's game, one of the bigger curbs, but extremely flat, apparently. Again, not sure if it's laser scanned. If it is, then fair enough. If this is what it's like in real life to drive, because I've never driven Bahrain. But last year's game, even compared to other years' games that have gone by, it's a lot more flatter, the curbing. Whether, again, it's like that in real life, I have no idea, because I've never driven a Formula 1 car in real life. I've never driven around Bahrain in real life, let alone been to Bahrain. But, yeah, if that is what it genuinely is like, fair enough. Kudos to EA for getting it correct and for making those improvements. But if not, I do wonder what's gone on there. Overall, though, as I say, not really a push lap. That isn't just what you call it, normal driving, I suppose, cruising, I shall call it. Is there anywhere else we need to see? Japan is actually the next big one I think I'll show you. So we'll hop in the Kick Sauber, why not? We've done pretty much every other car. Well, we haven't done every other car, but we've done most cars, I'd say. Japan is the next one, I think, really. Everyone, I think, very heavily advertising the, what you call it, the game promotion, I suppose. And, yeah, it does look great. I will give it its dues. It don't look as bad as what it did in last year's game or years gone by. It's had a massive, I suppose, evolution forward. It looks a little bit more, what you call it, realistic, I suppose, to a large extent. So yeah, here it is. And yeah, it just, as I say, looks a little bit more realistic. Haven't probably done a very quick lap around here. Let's see if we can do a quicker lap, so you can just see what I'm saying. Yeah, if this is a quick lap, then obviously, what you call it, I'll try and go again, just for another lap. I'm going to restart, try and do it again. Try and do a better lap than that. That certainly, in no way, can be considered quick. Those all lines. Right, let's try it one more time. So down into turn one, practically flat out as per usual. A lot better time that turn one was. This is going to be a lot more about finding a good flow, I think, compared to years gone by. It's always been about finding a flow, but I think it's going to be a lot more critical in this year's game. The track feels also a little bit wider. So it's going to be a little bit more, as I say, about trying to find a flow. And not just a flow, but also trying to, I suppose, maximize the width of the track. Definitely feels a whole lot wider, the track this year. A little bit of green tarmac on the right there, which I think you should use. That's just my personal preference. I'm certainly going to try and use it in this year's game. A little bit of green tarmac, if you saw. In terms of the cherry blossom, I'm not really seeing too much of cherry blossom, but it is around. But then I am not really, how can I put it, focusing more a little bit on the ultimate lap time here than probably on the actual look of the track. And then out of the final corner, it would have been a 1:30.7, which, of what I'm aware, isn't too bad. Well, I hope not. But yeah, there is a little bit of cherry blossom. Then let's see if we can spot that cherry blossom. Oh yeah, just on the left there. Not a lot of it, but a little to go around. But yeah, so the big thing about Japan, feels a lot wider. I feel like this is a little bit wider, the whole track itself, compared to what it was before, which might make it a little bit more raceable, and a lot more chance for overtakes to happen in, obviously, the game in league races, I suppose. Up the top here, again, just feels so much more wider, I feel. Feels like there's a lot more room to play with for everyone, which is always good. Degner 1, now, Degner 1 felt a little bit horrible there, and I feel like that might be a curb you want to avoid. You might want to avoid that, as you can see, because I felt like every time I was hitting that, it didn't feel great. Anyway, Degner 2, certainly going to be a corner. Probably you want to use that camber, all the camber you can afford. I'm not sure whether you want to end up out there like that. Not really sure. We'll have to see what the line is through there. Anyway, doesn't feel like there's much, rotation there in the car. But, yeah, this was where I was saying the feels, again, a lot wider, the whole track. But there's a little bit of green tarmac here you probably want to aim for, and then about here you want to flick the car in, I would suggest. That's probably the ideal racing line there. Through through Spoon. A little bit of, obviously, more runoff in the exit there as well. But overall, I'd say it's a lot better, considering it's laser scanned. It feels a little bit more flow, and we'll give it another shot. See how much we can improve by. I'm going to go full focus for this lap. Right, yeah, we'll try it one more time, just to give a... So, a 131.2, I think we're a little bit far off, about 5 seconds off, like, yeah, not really quite found the car balance, maybe I want, yeah, I'm not sure if I had a setup on or not, I think I did, but, yeah, certainly ain't found the car balance, and then onto, finally, onto then Australia, which is the final circuit we're going to do, and then I think that'll be it for today, first in look. As I say, it is a nicer game, ultimately. Where would I rate it? I'm not really sure yet. You know, personally, the handling, I'm a bit iffy about it, as I say. I feel like there's a bit of inherent understeer in the car at the moment. And as I say, if I was EA, the one minor change, hopefully I do think they make, is try to dial some of it out naturally for the player. Because I feel like the lap times are a little bit off. And I'll just give you an example. So, right, qualifying here in real life at Australia. Let's have a look at the pole lap time. So, pole lap 2025 was set by Lando Norris, who won the race, of course. And it was a 15.0, the pole position lap time. Right now, we're about 4/10 off that, and that's for the top drivers. I'm not saying that, you know, someone like myself should be able to do a 15.0, but, you know, I wouldn't say I'm the worst driver in any of the F1 games. I'm sort of like middle of the road. I am a very middle of the road driver, I would argue. So to do, obviously, and the cars have only got faster last year. They've not got slower, if you know what I mean. They've only gone faster this year compared to last year in 2024. They're not slower, which I think is a key consideration. Like, you've got to kind of consider. This is another track that's apparently, I think, laser scanned, I believe. And ultimately, as a laser scan track goes, I think okay. You can obviously tell one or two differences, but again, very minute details. There's nothing really groundbreaking. Maybe again the track's a little bit wider than it was before. I'd say that it's a little bit wider than what it was in F1 2024. So, yeah, we'll reattempt some of these laps just to try and get in a better lap time. So just to prove I'm not necessarily the slowest driver out there. I'll try and do a 17.3 or something, hopefully. And I think that's pretty much competitive this year's game for someone like myself. I found a 10th, but yeah. But yeah, that's the only criticism so far I kind of have of the game, is the cars being maybe a bit too slow compared to last year. And that would be the one and only critique. Otherwise, I think the cars are pretty nice. They're feeling a little bit more drivable. So in terms of drivability, they're better in that regard. But they're a little bit worse with regards to, I would say, in terms of just like areas like that, there seems to be so much understeer, which I'm not a fan of. And I feel like that's where these cars sort of like losing it a little bit for me. Like in terms of where my lap time is going. I'll try that again. Definitely know I've got a 1:17 in me somewhere. Holy shite. Sorry for my language up. But I really weren't happy there, was it? Anyway, this lap you can see miles better. 7.5 tenths up on our delta. So that puts me already kind of into the low 118s. You're no longer there, flick the car in and live with it, even though in real life, I believe you certainly can. So that's what I mean by it. These cars just don't seem to have the downforce that I would expect the modern Formula 1 car. I'll be happy to just get into the 118s. I know it's not the 117 I promised, but we'll go one more time. No, invalidated. We'll go just one more time. See if we can do a 117 roughly. Find another second. Definitely final corner there. A little bit of time on the table, but yeah, the big area for me that I'm not a fan of is, as I say, how the castle like feels in the high speed EVA. Like, I feel like they should have a bit more grit than what it's sort of like producing at the moment. I'm not saying I liked F1 2024 handling. I did not. That sucked. I sort of like this handling, but for me, where it's falling down is in areas where you'd say or would think the car should have a bit more to give. So like through there, very, very nice that time, just driving a better line. But right, for me this should be a 7th gear corner coming up. It's not a 7th gear corner. It's not even an 8th gear corner. You sort of got to brake for it. Ideally, that's sort of like the ideal line now through there, as we did invalidate, but oh well. So that would have been a 3/10 gain, roughly 2.5 tenths. Puts me into 118.3 territory. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting how this game evolves, I think. If they do have a handling update coming, I would be very interested to see what they do, where they go with it. If they just add a little bit more downforce to it, to each car, to the game physics, I think that'd just be the ideal thing to do here. Other than that, I think the actual car handles very, very well. No real, how can I put it, unexpected moments. You sort of know what the car's going to do a little bit more, which I think is how a Formula 1 car probably would handle in real life. You wouldn't have these, what you call it, unrealistic slides. I feel like the sliding is a little bit more realistic compared to before, which is always good. Yeah, I think ultimately it feels better. It's just, have these cars got the right amount of downforce now in order to do the times that they're doing as per real life? There you go, 4/10 improvement roughly, and almost a 117. But yeah, that's what I mean. You can see I'm not necessarily the slowest, hopefully, driver on the game. Not the fastest, and I'll never proclaim to be the fastest. But you can see, even compared to like other people, I'm not the slowest driver on the game. Like, I'd say I'm pretty middle of the road sort of driver, ultimately. Gonna use just a different setup to see if that gives me any more confidence. Tell you what, this setup feels like it's got a little bit more, what you call it, front end to it, which I think is nice. So not always the top end setups feel better, but yeah, this certainly feels a little bit more front end, which I probably do like in a car. And yeah, you can see gaining loads of time there. Yeah, this is a lot more, I suppose, my style in terms of what I like from a car. I do like a, how can I put it, a grippy front end in a car. I just think it's so much more better. So we'll just do 2 more laps here, just to see if we can get into the 17s or whatever. Just see how much faster I can get amongst my friend leaderboard. Because to be fair, some of friends on, or some people I've got added on the game, I wouldn't say they're the quickest drivers I know, but certainly aren't slow drivers, let's put it like that. How is that invalidation? How? Just brushed the wall. Oh well. It is what it is. They say it's invalidated. It's invalidated, I suppose. Oh, not again. I feel like that how much you need to take, but I'm just maybe being a bit too greedy. Certainly first sector though would have been a much better first sector, so long I kept it all nice and tidy. Anyway, I've got so much time on the table in this first sector of the lap, which is good, I suppose, because at least I know where I need to improve. The 10th improvement so far, not bad. Let's see if I can just find a bit more. I certainly can. Just, you can see I'm now pushing a little bit the car. Gonna try and continue this lap even though it's invalid. Always good to try and finish a lap I think you're on, even if you invalidate it. So what? I know obviously in the game you wouldn't, not in the game, in the time trial or whatever you want to call it, the 17.6. Yeah, I know obviously in a qualifying you're not gonna have 100% battery, but this lap, oh my days, 3/10 up through first sector, that's exactly what I'm talking. Not quite as good through there this time, but still 3/10 up. Alright. Ah, no. See, that's what I mean by understeer in this car. So much of it. And how do you dial that out besides from lifting off the throttle, which I feel like that's why I think these cars just need a little bit more downforce added by EA to make it correct. And then we've actually got really, I think, the perfect F1 game almost. Very, very close to it. It's not quite, I don't think, perfect yet, but it is getting there to a much better stage where the car does feel a lot more realistic to drive, which is always great. It's just whether or not you can get it to that next phase. Oh dear, car wanted to snap out there on me. So Smooth is going to be more rewarding, I think, on this year's game. It is going to be a lot more rewarding. So the smoother you can get everything, the more probably lap time you're going to find this year in this year's title. I don't think it's going to be as aggressive, of course, but a lot smoother you can just get your driving style. That's where the lap time on this year's game is at. As you can see, 5 tenths up. A lot happier with that time. And yeah, that's, I think, a decent-ish lap, I think, personally. I could be wrong in that, but I think that is a decent lap. As you can see, like, out of my friends list, I mean, that's quick as F1 Tyler. Oscar, almost 3 tenths down on him, but it's only about 6 tenths down on some of the quickest people I've got added. Yeah, so smooth is going to definitely be the rewarding factor, I think, in this year's game. Anyway, that'll be all for now. If you have enjoyed looking at all the tracks, please give a subscribe, a like, and see you all next time for probably will be a career mode video of F1 2025.